you guys hear any like background noise coming from my end?
Not right now.
Because like I don't know what my neighbor is doing. Like I'm hearing like random thuds and screams, and like legit for a moment I'm like, is my neighbor getting murdered, or she might just be really bad at singing? Dude, for real. Like at first I was like, oh, she's clearly like I actually heard like a lot of thuds and some like I heard a large ruckus, right? So I'm like, okay, like this is unusual. And then I kind of like walk into the other room to hear better. And then like there's a long pause. And then all of a sudden I start hearing screaming I'm like, oh, okay, she's trying to sing a song. And I'm like, what? This is horrible. This is the worst thing I ever heard in my life. Like you legit sounded like you were dying. So just let me know if you hear any, murder sounds in the background.
This is the start of Narktendo, where you have to call the cops on your neighbor.
Yeah.
This is the start of Glenn getting murdered on his podcast.
Yeah, like cut to a week from now, I ended up that my neighbor got murdered, and then I got murdered, and then this episode is the evidence that is brought to court. Like, see, this man knew that someone was getting murdered. He did nothing about it, and then he died a week later. He deserves it.
Glenn's gonna get murdered on his podcast, and then his murder will be solved on another podcast.
Yeah. It'll blow up my podcast after I die. The dude who got murdered during an episode of his podcast. Anyway, welcome everybody to the Glentendo Podcast. I'm Glentendo. This is a weekly Smash community / Nintendo Big Brain Galaxy Brain Conversation podcast. It goes up every Thursday for supporters on Patreon, then becomes free to all the following Sunday on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, YouTube, and pretty much like everywhere. Like there's a bunch of like podcast things that I didn't even know existed that apparently the show gets streamed through my provider. So check us out, subscribe, like it, whatever you got to do to make me happy, please do it. This week, we're going to be talking a lot about Smash Brothers. We have a new character. We have a new Sakurai Presents to talk about, a new stage, patch notes. And unlike all the other like Nintendo podcasts, like these people who have nothing to do with competitive Smash are like sometimes having to critique these characters, and like they give their opinion on like what they think this stuff means from the competitive standpoint, and they get it so wrong that it's honestly so annoying. It's like, oh yeah, this character seems good. And that's it. That's all they can say about it. So this week I have Kyle Cooped Up Rios, famed Smash competitive commentator. Kyle, say hello to the fans.
Hello, fans. It's me, podcast host / commentator / sad man who all of my favorite characters got nerfed this last patch.
Yeah.
So really hurting right now.
Yeah, we're going to talk a lot about that. And we have Mr. PGR Wins at Majors, Mr. Arhungry. Say hello to the fans.
Look upon me. I am the life of the mind.
What is that from? What is that?
Oh, whoever watches this podcast and knows it, please add me on Twitter to congratulate you.
Oh, okay. So you
do not look it up.
All right, fine.
No, you're not allowed to know. You gotta. If you don't know, you can find out later.
If you don't know, now you know. Okay.
What?
Whoa.
So
who's in Paris?
By the way, I feel like a lot of people don't know this, and I wanted to take I kind of brought it up for a reason. Dude, I didn't realize, and sometimes I make fun of you so hard because it's so easy and fun, and like it's just like the easiest thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
But like you have really big wins at Smash 4 competitively. Like even at big events, not just like locals and stuff. Like I think sometimes it's easy to forget that, and then it's like our opinions aren't as important all of a sudden, or it's not like taken as seriously. And it's like, no, dude, like, we've been to so many tournaments and been competing for a long time. And like you specifically, I mean, I have some pretty good wins under my belt, but I don't have any like PGR level wins. Like Captain Zach used to destroy everyone, and then you ended his run at Shine that one time, and that was beautiful. If anyone hasn't seen that set, go on YouTube, look up Arhungry versus Captain Zack. This is when Zack was at his pinnacle, and then Hungry comes through with his like horrible Korin and somehow wins.
I didn't even know I was gonna win.
Yeah. I didn't even know I was gonna win. Is that what you said?
Yeah, so there was a tweet I put out before I played him. I was like, I'm about to play Captain Zack on stream. Don't watch it. I was like preparing for the worst.
Yeah.
But I had like practiced a lot. I had prepared a lot against Bayonetta that weekend, and just like watched a bunch of videos beforehand. I got all my rage out. Like I was just losing a lot to Bayonetta, specifically Jude Harris, Jackal. I was playing against his Bayonetta a lot, and he was just making me rage so hard, like the night before, that I got all my anger out. You know, I played with a few other Bayonettas, and it just it worked out for me in that matchup. I have a lot of other wins too.
Yeah.
James,
Yeah, that's just like a big important one because it was also at a big event. Like there are, over 500 people that entered that tournament. Like that tournament is huge, So just giving people a little context so that it's not just like random gamers talking about Smash Brothers competitively. Like if you're more of a if you're in, there are some people who listen to the show that are like fans of the show that know, just like when we talk about other stuff and they don't know as much about competitive Smash, right? But yeah, I just want them to understand that like we have a little bit. I'm not saying that we're the most genius people on this topic, but compared to, I listen to a lot of Nintendo shows, dude, and I'm like, anytime they talk about Smash, I'm like, dude, is there not a single person in that room who knows anything about this game competitively? Like, it's a huge esport at this point, and I just want to give us a little credit because I think we're the only podcast that actually can do this, like to some degree of doing justice and like being able to talk about it in like good detail. And if you don't know a lot about competitive Smash, we're gonna bridge the gap a little bit, So yeah, we have a lot to talk about with all that stuff, and we're going to get to that obviously. But I actually wanted to ask you guys what you think about this because last night a game got revealed that I am so excited about. So last night it was announced that the makers of Streets of Rage 4 are making a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game. And it's done in the exact style of the old games like Turtles in Time and stuff and like the arcade games, 4-player co-op. It's pixel art, which is very rare nowadays. Like even Streets of Rage 4 didn't have pixel art. And they got the license to Ninja Turtles and like, dude, I can't wait to play this. Like they did such a good job with Streets of Rage 4. Like I'm way too excited about this. Are you guys interested in this game at all?
I definitely am. I played a lot of the TMNT when I was a kid on Super Nintendo.
Which turtle are you? Who's your turtle of choice?
I always go with Leonardo. He got a sword.
So boring.
What would you pick? I want Donatello because he's got a big brain and he's got a turtle power.
Dude, I picked Donatello just because I think it's hilarious that all of them have real weapons, and then he's like, I have a stick. Like,
bro, a staff is probably more deadly than nunchucks.
Maybe, but like, dude, at least nunchucks and like, Leonardo has the swords and Raphael has the size and like they look sharp and pointy. And like this dude's like, yo, I have a stick. Like it looks like he just took a mop and then took the end off of it. And it's just, he's hitting people with a mop when these other guys have swords. So I think that's hilarious. And that's why I go with my boy Donatello, even though out of all those artists that those turtles are named after, I literally don't know anything about Donatello. Like everyone knows Michelangelo, everyone knows Leonardo, and everyone knows Raphael to some degree. But like Donatello, like who is that? I don't know.
You got a lot of clue. You don't got a lot of clue what Donatello do.
What was that sentence?
God. Don't worry about it.
Another hidden lore reference.
Yeah.
Kyle, what do you think? Are you a fan of these beat 'em ups, bro? These classic beat 'em ups?
Yeah. I played a lot of these games. I think I played like a weird Streets of Rage like clone game on the original Game Boy when I was younger. I don't remember what it was called at all. But I love these beat 'em up games like Scott Pilgrim, Streets of Rage, all that stuff. It's really funny. The first time I actually ever played Turtles in Time was in a barcade like 4 years ago.
Oh wow, yeah, that's always one of the more popular games at the barcades.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun because like admittedly I've never been a huge like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles person. Like I feel like that kind of like missed me when I was younger for some reason. But I've since grown to appreciate it as an adult, and my my spirit turtle is Mikey because he likes pizza. So
All of them like pizza.
yeah, but like Mikey loves pizza.
All of them like pizza.
Yeah, they all love pizza.
But like,
everyone loves orange soda.
Who do you
You're
think of when you orange soda?
You are a fake fan.
Exposed.
Nope. Who's Krang? Do you know who Krang is?
Doesn't have to. Not on my own show, mate. Not on my own show.
Krang is the dude in the stomach, right?
He's a brain.
He's a brain that
an alien brain thing.
Yeah, there's always every one of these like cartoon shows has like the brain character. Like that was just such a common trope. Like it's like the brain and the piece of glass. You know what I mean? Like it's so corny. But
I also know that the original voice of Shredder was Uncle Phil from The Fresh Prince.
Really?
James Avery?
James Avery was the voice of
Rip.
Shredder.
Rest in peace, bro.
Yeah, the range on my man.
The range. Yeah, so I'm excited about that game because they did a great job with Street Rage 4. And the only thing I'm worried about is that another, like, Turtles in Time is one of those games. It's the best beat 'em up game, in my opinion. I played, like, a lot of beat 'em ups growing up. And Turtles in Time is still so much fun. And the problem is that game was, like, developed by Konami. So they just haven't ported it ever. Like it's never been on the virtual console. It's never been anywhere else. The only time that it was like a little ported was on the PS3 360 era. They like tried to remake it and it was so bad. Like it looked horrible. It was horrible, dude. So I was always waiting for them to put it on the Wii virtual console along with all the other Super Nintendo games. They never did. They never put it on the Wii U. At this point on the Switch, it's like definitely not happening. So this is like the best. We're getting like a spiritual sequel. And the only thing I'm a little worried about is that because it's a new team that has the license and has nothing to do with Konami, it's not a remake. It is like a sequel. I just wonder who they're going to have to do the music because like a big part of Turtles in Time was like how good the songs are so good in that game. Like Sewer Surfing to this day, like, bro, I headbang to that. That's it's so good. So I don't know. I mean, Streets of Rage 4, they actually got Yuzo Koshiro, who did all the original Streets of Rage music. He came back to do new songs. And, like, I don't know if they're going to just hire the guy who did Turtles in Time music, but we'll see. But anyway, that happened last night. It's obviously going to come to the Switch, even though it hasn't formally been announced what consoles it's coming to. So we're all going to play that. And Kyle's going to be Michelangelo. You're going to be Leonardo. I'm going to be Donatello. And then I guess we'll force Riz to be Raphael. We'll force him. He doesn't really have an option. He's just getting last straw on that one. And Raphael's cool. So.
That's very Raphael of him.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of Riz, the first thing we're going to talk about is Riz came up with a very interesting conspiracy theory. So the other day we were talking, right? And we're all in our Discord group chat. And we're just, not making sense and just saying dumb things all day as usual. And Riz he points out that right before quarantine officially kicked off, the last Smash patch that we got just so happened to buff all of the characters that are really good online, right? So on January 28th, 2020, we got patch 7.0. They significantly buffed Samus, which is just a terror on Wi-Fi. They buffed Zelda. They buffed Young Link, who was already the most obnoxious character in the game, right? They buffed Toon Link, and of course they buffed Cloud significantly. They also had some other adjustments here and there, but those were like the significant ones. And all those characters I just mentioned are like famous for being way better online because most of them just throw projectiles at you, and it's really hard to punish that stuff when you can't react because there's a few frames of delay and stuff. And Cloud, he doesn't throw anything at you, but like it's harder to punish him and gimp him online. And we've seen like the results where Clouds and Samuses have been like doing really, really well, winning all these online tournaments. So Riz's theory was that Sakurai knew about this and that he's somehow involved in the COVID conspiracy. He must have like him and Bill Gates have something going on. That's what Riz believes. What do you guys think about this?
I am not a believer in Riz or his conspiracy theories and Little Man on the Moon.
Listen, all I'm going to say is when we go Riz, we go all. That's all
What?
I'm going to say.
What is this episode with the weird phrases? Are you guys in cahoots on this, bro?
The weird phrases episode.
Is this the Glentendo jumping the shark episode?
Oh my God. So I brought this up. I obviously don't believe in it at all. I only brought this up so that we can make fun how stupid Riz is. Like, how stupid is this concept that Riz came up with, bro? Like, well, why would you even think this? You think that Sakurai had something to do with COVID, bro? Like, I'm just disappointed that he even said that. This is the episode where we expose our friends.
Luckily for us, we don't have to do that for you. You're just constantly making fun of yourself.
Facts.
It's true.
Yeah, so Riz, I mean, it's interesting that you brought up this correlation, but you're probably seeing connections that aren't there, and we all know where you were on January 6th. Anyway, moving on.
And there are no green men on the moon.
And there. So the big news last week, we have another Sakurai Presents. As usual, when a new Smash character is coming out, Sakurai comes out and he like records himself playing as the character, talking about the character, kind of showing you like some of the cool stuff the character can do and like the stages and stuff. And it's really cool that he does this. And I'm actually, I think I feel like we take this for granted a bit because I find myself like in that camp where now there's only going to be, as far as we know, there's only going to be 2 more DLC characters for Smash Ultimate, right? And he's done one of these for every single character pretty much. And it's so cool that a game developer actually does this because like you can, if you think about it, there's no other game developers that do stuff like this. Like I would love to see like Miyamoto like in his house and he's like, hey, like, let me show you like the intricacies and like in a very, intimate setting. Let me show you like this game that I'm working on or like this character for this game and stuff. And like we get directs where they kind of give you like an overhead view or whatever, but it's never like, it's not like these Sakurai Presents where he makes jokes and like it's funny and you get to see his house and like he's playing with 2 hands, like one on each controller, and he's playing himself and showing you stuff and he's like reacting to what's going on the screen. It's really, really cool. Are there any other game developers that you guys would be like, all right, I would love it if this guy did this for this game or something like that?
The only 2 things that I can think of, and one of them is kind of like an unofficial one, which is 2 of the Ratchet and Clank developers did like a playthrough of the 2nd and 3rd games and did like a commentary of them, like a full playthrough of the whole game. So it's like there's a lot of content there, and they're like talking about the intricacies of like programming and design decisions and like anything that went into the production of the game. Like they talked about it, and it's a really good watch, even if you're not into the game itself. You learn a lot about the development of games. Like through that.
But is it ever as intimate as like these Sakurai Presents?
What do you mean by that?
Like, is it ever like, okay, there's this, well, I guess it depends on the company because like most game developers, like companies don't center around one person like the way that, Smash centers around Sakurai, right? So it's like, do in these videos, like, do you get a sense for like, oh, this is the game director and he's literally playing the game in front of me and showing me things like, is it that?
That's literally that.
Oh, that's so sick.
It's a playthrough of the whole game,
Oh, that's awesome. Okay.
Yeah, it's like they call it a developer commentary.
Yeah.
Right? And they play through the whole game. There's like a bunch of episodes. And sometimes they'll like do a special episode like to talk about one thing about in the game, And they kind of stopped after the 3rd game. They planned to do more, but then they just got busy making games, so they kind of stopped doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, what do you think, Kyle?
I can't think of any like specific developers off the top of my head. If there's one thing I would love to see more of, just kind of like on that scope in general, I just want to see Shigeru Miyamoto just hanging out at the Mario theme park like all
Yeah.
day.
Well, they actually have that, like, kind of like he gives
I
you
know,
a tour.
but I want like just an
Yeah.
in depth, just like him like Groundhog's Day, just like reliving that same day over and over again.
Yeah, like him actually going on rides and stuff, and like not even. I would love to see. It would be funny because imagine Miyamoto like doing something from his house, like the way Sakurai is. Like again, it's very strange. Like you don't. Some of these people are like mythical figures to us because they make games, and like we don't really know a lot about their personal lives, and like the fact that I even know what Sakurai's couch looks like is funny. Like it's funny when I think about that. Like I would love to see like, oh, Miyamoto's in his garden and he's like, hey, here's where I came up with Pikmin. Like, oh, this is the exact spot where I was shoveling dirt and this is where I came up with this idea. And like that would just be so interesting. I think the dream one for me would be like seeing Hideo Kojima like do, because you know that he's probably going to do some like weird like awkward version of this. Like it would be him in his house playing like some new game that is some weird game, and like that would just be awesome.
Now I was gonna say the other one I would want to see is I want to see AG Onuma just like show me around his house and tell me that Breath of the Wild 2 isn't finished yet.
I know what you're thinking. I'm here in the Nintendo Direct, but I'm just here to show you my house. I'm not here to talk about Zelda at all.
Yeah, you know, as a casual Zelda fan, you know, I'm willing to wait on that. You know,
Yeah.
So you know,
So the presents, he shows us like the characters, and he gives us like a basic breakdown that like. So one of the cool things about this character is that this is one of the few times where like they really successfully made a transformation character, because the original transformation character was Zelda and Sheik in Melee, but Zelda just has like moves that don't work, like multi hits where people just fall out, and a lot of people just play as Sheik exclusively, and there's almost never a reason to play as Zelda. And then fast forward to Brawl, they introduced the Pokemon trainer, and in Brawl, like he had like a stamina thing, like it was like a hidden, it wasn't like a meter, but it was like the Pokemon would get tired and weaker the more you used one, so then you had to kind of switch, but it was kind of a weird way of doing that. And then with this character, you really have to use both of them. Like it really feels like maybe I'm speaking a little too soon because Mythra does seem really, really good by herself, but like it seems like you really need to use both of them, and they design them really well in that sense. Like what one is missing is very clear compared to the other. So Mythra is really fast, and she like she has a lot of different combos, and she can just mash on your block. Her frame data is amazing. And Pyra is really slow, but her moves are huge and she hits you really, really hard. So a lot of times you want to start the game with Mythra, do 1,000,000 damage, or like get a really good, healthy lead fast, and then switch to Pyra. And like that's like an oversimplification, but generally that's how the character is like conceived. So just early thoughts, like what do you guys think like playing these characters? I know Hungry, like this is your main now, right? Like this is officially you found your character with these two.
That's really what it feels like. I think I will still play other characters. Like I've always been a counter pick kind of player, but I never had a focal point in this game. Or like in Smash 4, I was a Corrin player first, and then I played other characters to supplement. But it really feels like I found my focal point now with these two characters. Mythra is like, she has like a top 5 mobility and most stats. So she's got like a top 5 run speed, top 5 fall speed, you know, one of the highest gravities, like really good jump height. Like she just can move, man. Like if there's a place where she wants to be, she can get there, and she get there quick, you know? So it's really like cool to just be able to go, I need to get there. Okay, I'm there. You know? And then her frame rate is good. It's not like insane, but it's really good. But when you add in that speed, like that she's already like this really fast mobile character, it becomes like really good. Like, you know, in context.
In combination with the other, right?
Yeah, and she has some like potential for kill power. So her forward smash is really strong. So if you get like a down tilt forward smash and common to each other
Yeah.
at the ledge, and especially some characters they kind of like hang over the ledge, right? Like when they grab, so every character when they hang onto the ledge, they have a different like animation of them holding onto the ledge. And a character like Ganondorf is like really low and you can never hit him basically, right? And a character like Charizard where his whole head's sticking out, right? Just to give you like the opposite ends of the spectrum. And the characters who kind of stick out a little bit, you kind of hit them with the down tilt, and then hit them with the forward smash, and that kill them really early. Well, early for like her standards, you know.
Also, just like because she's so fast, right? Having that F smash means that when someone's struggling to land, you can get under them very quickly. So, like a lot of times, I think people are a little too soon to say this character doesn't have kill power because, first of all, you can kill people by gimping them, and it's not all about like having the raw power in the move. It's
Yes, I
like
was gonna get into that too.
you can go off stage. She is really good at doing a lot of that stuff. But then to the F smash thing that you're mentioning, it's also like, dude, even if it was like kind of weak compared to other F smashes, she can positional wise, like she can move herself where she needs to be so that if you're trying to land, you're gonna get F smashed. Like she can find a way. When people get better with this character, they're gonna find a way to kill you. Like people have found crazier ways of getting the stock with characters that have less kill power than Mythra. So
Yeah,
I'm not even worried about her like long term like that.
yeah. And then there's her up smash is pretty strong. It's not like Fox up smash or anything, but it can kill like a medium weight character like 120, 130%, which is reasonable for her damage output. And again, her being so fast, like she just can get under you and do it. And there's also like people are labbing like the lightning buster combos. That's her neutral B. That's the one where she charges it up and then she starts swinging, right? Like there's I've seen some people combo like landing like up air into the neutral B and like the top hit, like the charging hitbox, like combos from the up air, and it drags you down, and then you get hit
Yeah,
with the rest of it. You know,
yeah, I saw that. Yeah, that's amazing.
so she's
So
got a lot of potential there.
yeah, right. So Kyle, what do you think in terms of how fun this character is?
Right. So I was like most people, I was like pretty like meh on when the characters were first announced. But after like getting my hands on them the last couple of days, I like to just play the DLC characters for like a while to see if it like meshes or not. And I've had I think all of us have had like similar problems with like the last like I don't know like 6 characters is that they're all like really really slow. And like I like it's when I play fighting games, I play like either characters that are like really really fast and can like run you down, or like I play like heavier characters that like can like kill you in like 6 hits. Like that's kind of like my wheelhouse. And with Pyra and Mythra, I have both of that because like the 2 characters that I have the most fun playing, like when I play Smash Ultimate, is like Palutena, who's like, you know, she's not gonna like blow you away speed wise, but like she's really really good at most things. Like she's quick, she's got she's got like really good combos at like an 8%. Sorry, I'm just getting all choked up talking about anime. Um, and the other character I like is Richter, who's like slow, hits really hard, and it's very satisfying when you hit people with them. And I get the best of both worlds with these characters. Mythra's really fast, like Hungry said, she can get anywhere in a New York minute, and like she's like it's like the perfect homogenous combination of like a fast rushdown character and like a gorilla like turn your brain off character that can like, you know, kill you in 6 hits. And I love that personally.
Yeah, so that's one of the things that I've noticed that a lot of people. So we have friends who have been like making mods of Ultimate to kind of make up for some of the movement options that you can't do that you could do in previous Smash games. And like this character, well, Mythra specifically, is like it's cool that they finally gave a character to that crowd that really just wants to move, bro. Like there are people who just want a character that can really move fast and do a lot of things really quickly and do it well. And so like already I'm seeing a lot of those people who are like in love with this character for that reason. And then obviously you have Pyra there. There are people who just love playing like, you know, a slower but hard hitting sword character. I think they're both pretty solid individually. So together, it's actually like, obviously, if anyone knows, like we listen to this podcast, like, you know that I don't like this series that they're from at all. Like, I'm just not a fan of that style of game. And this is really not, these are not, I didn't want a character from that series. But now that they're here, this is probably the best DLC in terms of how they're designed for a competitive setting. Like, I feel like these characters are really good, but in a way that's very fair. Like, I feel like when I'm fighting them, I'm like, okay, when I lose, it's pretty much my fault, and there's not a lot of cheese. It's not like Steve or like Min Min, where you just feel like, oh, like I shouldn't have lost that. Like that was just like they have this cheesy gimmick, and if you fall for it, you just die. It feels like if I'm the better player, I'm going to beat this character. Like no one's just going to consistently cheese me out with them. And I feel like for the competitive community, that's what you want. You want the characters that reward the skill. And the added benefit, and let me know what you guys think about this, because this is like, maybe a little too early to tell, but this might be like the first DLC that really like gatekeeps a lot of the characters that we don't like fighting in competitive Smash. Like famously in Smash 4, like Cloud came out and Cloud was basically like, you must be this tall to enter a tournament. Like you cannot fight him with half of the roster. He literally was that good where he was like, there were like 10 characters that could fight him and everyone else just automatically lost to that character. And I don't know if it's going to be as stark with these characters, but already I'm kind of like thinking, if you play DDD or you play Bowser or you play like the heavy characters, Mythra is literally just going to put you at the ledge in 5 seconds, and it's going to be very hard for you to play the game versus her. Like, do you guys think that's the case with this character this early on?
I don't know if she'll be that oppressive, especially since, like I said, like her moves are really good, but they're not like super safe, you know. And a lot of those characters like Bowser have like a good like up B at a shield or stuff like that. Like they're not helpless in this game, right? There's a lot added to the game, like in general, like having like invincible get up attacks where you get to like kind of work for your ledge shots a little bit more. So we'll see that I don't think she'll be that oppressive, like in like a Smash 4 Cloud capacity.
But do you want her to be? Is the question.
Why wouldn't I want that? I play the character. I play the character. Would you want your character to be so good that you don't have to work for it anymore? Yeah.
Yeah. Kyle, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I don't know if we'll ever like reach that level of like DLC pain ever again, because like I played, you know, a fair amount of Smash 4 Cloud, and like I am by no means like a competitor like you know, to the level that you guys are. Like, you know, I've made my home in the sand, you know, where I'm good. But even I could like win a handful of sets against lesser players with Smash 4 Cloud. Like that character was like a game shark come to life in a horror movie. Like it was insane. And you saw shades of that, you know, how, you know, when Joker came out and Joker was like, okay, like this character takes a little bit more, you know, thought and brain power, but this is a really good character. And I've always felt like that, like Nintendo has been afraid, at least in regards to like Smash in general, has always been afraid of their own power creep, of like, you know, constantly releasing characters that could like shape the way that the game has changed, because they released 2 of those characters in Smash Wii U, and you know, Joker definitely was leading with like that sort of same energy, and it's been kind of like a sea of like inconsistent like mediocrity since then. But you know, as someone that's playing these characters and like is having a lot of fun with them, you know, shoot for the moon. I don't care. Like, make them broken. I'm sure the Xenoblade fans will really appreciate it.
Well, one thing I'll say though is I do think the Fighter Pass 2 characters are all pretty much good. Min Min is a menace. Steve is pretty good. Has one of the best advantage states in the game, and a really good at disadvantage state too. sometimes, right? Depending on his resources. Sephiroth is obviously really good. Uh, and yeah, so I mean, the fourth one here, they're all just all really good characters. Like in the first wave, we didn't have many good characters. We got Joker, then we got a bunch of mediocre characters, and then
Yeah.
all these are pretty much good.
Yeah. And like, I just want to take the moment to talk about like, this is something I've changed my mind about from when I began competing many years ago to how I feel now, where, I think people are listening to this thinking like, there's going to be some people whose reaction is, why would you want a game where so many characters can't compete, and there's like one or two characters that just gatekeep the competitive like game to the point where like you can't compete with all the characters in the roster. And this is something that Hungry really convinced me of over the years, because when I first entered the Smash community, I thought it would be best if every character was good enough to compete and was viable. And then as the years went on, I'm like, oh, you know what? Hungry's right. Like the game is worse when you have all these characters be viable, because some of these characters, the way they're designed, the only way to make them viable is to make them super janky and like make comeback mechanics and like really cheesy things that give that character a fighting shot in a way that is not skill based or is less skill based. And in Smash 4, people would argue that that was a better competitive game because there was a lot less of that, but in this game, it's like there are characters like Luigi where you're like, look, man, this character has a 0 to death, right? And that is almost like, if he didn't have that, he would literally be one of the worst characters competitively. Like he's really bad competitive Smash, but that's fine because the game doesn't always have to be competitive. Like if you want to play Luigi's in friendlies and play with your friends online in 8-player Smash, like he's good at that. Like it's fine. Like he doesn't need to be competitively viable. And especially not if the only way to do it is to like give those characters these insane like 0 to death combos where you really don't feel outplayed by your opponent. And like Ultimate has a lot of that, like way more than Smash 4. Like it's honestly a lot. So whenever these DLC characters come out, I'm hoping that we're getting to the point where it's like, okay, Mythra and Pyra, or maybe Sephiroth seems like he might be along these lines too, where they kind of gatekeep those gimmicky characters where the other player is not like outplaying you. They just have one really strong thing that works one time, and all it needs to do is work one time, Like, do you guys still agree that that's a better way for the game to be competitively, where not everyone has a fighting chance? You know what I mean?
I mean, I'm the one that argue it. Dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. It's just the way that, like, at the end of the day, like, Nintendo and even Sakurai has, like, planted their flag in the sand of, like, this is a party game at its core.
Yeah.
And they want the game to be accessible to everybody. So, like, as much as we, as much as we want that, and, like, go for, you look at other fighting games where like mid tiers are mid tiers and the top tiers are top tiers, and like that's it. It's like, I don't think we're ever gonna reach that point in Smash, because especially for the last decade or so, decade plus since Brawl came out, Nintendo has tried to cater to make sure that everybody can get something out of this, and not just the people whose 5 or 6 characters like they really like happen to be really good.
Yeah.
So the thing I have to say about that is that the previous Smash games all sold really good,
Yeah. Even on the Wii U, man.
Yeah. So I think that just the decision to just cater to the casual audience doesn't actually matter. The casual audience are going to play it anyway.
Yeah, and it's also, it feels sometimes like, okay, we are, video games as a medium are leaning a lot towards esports. Like esports in the last decade has become like a lot bigger than it ever was. And, you can see that like Nintendo's been trying to kind of position their platform as like an esports platform too. Like when they revealed the Switch, like the reveal trailer for the system, they show like a giant esports arena with people playing Splatoon and stuff. And like they've tried to kind of include the community in the promotion for Smash Ultimate, like leading up to the release. So maybe their logic is, oh, it makes business sense for these characters to be competitively viable because we're going to make more money long term by making the competitive scene more inclusionary. And when you make it like a 10 character, like a game where only 10 characters are really good enough to win in a tournament, maybe that's worse for their business. You know what I mean? Like they get so many people in the door long term with the game by buffing their little low tier that is not good or is like really cheesy, but like, all right, we're going to make these low tiers decent enough. So I don't know. I feel like when I first entered the community as someone who mained like a character that wasn't that good, that's what I thought I wanted. And now that we have this, I'm like, oh my God, there's too much freaking matchups to learn, dude. Like, there's too many projectiles. Like, it's just, oh my God. Like, I fight Duck Hunt once every 3 years. You know what I mean? Like, and you have to know the intricacies of this one character that only 4 people play, but he's like tricky enough where he might beat you in tournament. And you're like, all right, well, did I lose because he's better than me or because I literally just don't know what your character does? You know what I mean? Like, that's the thing. So
it's just the nature of the game a little bit, like the input lag, like the heavy shield lag. Like there's a lot of commitment that needs to be made, so it's kind of harder to punish simple things, and it raises the skill floor in it's not a meaningful way to raise it. If anything, it might actually lower the skill ceiling because you can't react to things. So
yeah,
it's kind of the worst of both worlds.
Yeah.
So back to the presents. Obviously, he goes through the character, the stage. The stage, by the way, like when you're actually playing in it, it looks awesome. Like it's like in the clouds and stuff. And like I made a joke on Twitter that when I saw that, I was like, if Nintendo wants to promote an upcoming game where, you have a woman in a sword that takes place in the clouds, you have Skyward Sword right there, man. Can we just get like a Zelda DLC character with Fi instead of Mythra and Pyra, who are, if you don't know Xenoblade, they're literally inside of, like, they are the sword. They're just like the personality that is the sword or whatever. I'm like, it could have just been a Zelda character, bro.
You better knock on wood, man. That could still happen.
That's true.
It's possible.
Yeah. And then we'd get another anime sword character, which we're going to get to a little bit later, that the whole meme behind that. But yeah, the presents shows the stage. It's a really cool stage. And then we get to the part of the presents that is like, this has become the tradition, right? So like a character gets revealed for Smash. And then right after the character gets revealed, they tell you, hey, like in a week or two, Sakurai is going to do a present on this character, showing you all the intricacies of the character. And then in that presents, it's been a tradition now where we get Mii Fighter costumes, and it's always this thing of like, okay, which long-awaited character that people have been wanting forever is going to get deconfirmed as a Mii Fighter costume. Like, this character has no shot now of coming to the game because they settled for the Mii Fighter costume. So
Travis
for this
Scott!
one, yeah. So for this one, it was, of course, Monster Hunter finally comes to Smash as a Mii Fighter costume, bro. So, what did you guys think of that? Like, were you guys disappointed? Do you even care? Like, I know none of us are really big Monster Hunter people, but like, I personally, if we were going to add a bunch of sword characters or like characters like that to the game, I would have definitely wanted Monster Hunter over Byleth. But what do you guys think about that?
Well, I'm in the same boat as you. Where like when Byleth came out, and like I said out loud to to whoever I was watching with, I'm just like, that's a Monster Hunter character that they just added. Like,
yeah,
the concept of Byleth like using multiple weapons like in their kit, and I get, and granted that's not like a foreign thing in Smash, of course, but like that whole like archetype is like essentially what the Monster Hunter character like could have been. And like, I've never played a Monster Hunter game before. Maybe I will with this upcoming one, but yeah, that one definitely kind of stung, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, I wasn't really like shooken up about it or anything. I just, if anything, I was like, at least they did it, like, instead of making people wait.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, now it kind of like, so we have 2 DLC characters left, and it's like, all right, well, now we know that it's not that one, because Monster Hunter has been like a no-brainer since like the Wii U days for Smash. Like, there's other Capcom characters in the game already, and like Monster Hunter is huge on Nintendo platforms. So it's kind of weird that it never happened and that all we got was like the Rathalos boss battle in classic mode for Ultimate, and then now we have this. It's kind of weird that it never was like an actual character. But who knows? I mean, I don't even know how they would pull that character off, because like there's so many different classes in that game. Like there's no singular like character archetype that like would be the main one that you put in Smash. You know what I mean? Like there's like the one that uses the big longbow, and like there's the one that uses the big sword, and then there's the small sword. Like all of them are equally popular. So I don't know, maybe they'd make like an amalgamation where it's like some Frankenstein and he's just like he's all of those things and he has every single weapon from Monster Hunter. Like I have no idea.
I just don't know the defining character for Monster Hunter. Like the defining character is probably Rathalos, but he's the monster, so it doesn't really work that way.
Dare I say Rathalos is too big to be in Smash?
He is very large.
Yeah, that's like bigger than Ridley, bro. There's no way.
Double supersized, and he did not forget the fries.
Oh damn. God, man, this is the phrase episode, bro. The catchphrase episode.
We're jumping the shark, baby.
All right, so one of the coolest things about the Presents is that it also, when it ended, it was like, hey, this character that we're showing you is going to be out later today, which is awesome. And so the character came out March 4th, and along with the character, of course, always comes with a patch that adjusts a bunch of fighters in the game. And so some people are always wishing like, hey, I hope my character gets buffed and is improved. Or some people are like, oh man, I hope that character I hate gets nerfed because I hate this character and I hope that they just get gutted. So there are a lot of characters in this patch. This is a very interesting patch that we're going to talk about because there are a lot of characters that are really swole and cocky from how buff they got. They're just like swole. And then there's characters that are just pathetic and flaccid now. And they're just like sitting there with their nerfs. Like, what am I? I'm not even relevant anymore. So the big ones, we can't go through all of the patch notes. You can go look that up. But like the significant ones were that they buffed Falcon and Ganon in kind of a small but significant way. And they really buffed Byleth, by the way. Like Byleth got a lot of improvements to the point where like I can't even judge that character right now. I have no idea how much better they are or like how significant those buffs are. But they buffed Falcon and Ganon. Do you guys know what that term rock crocking means and where it comes from?
I think it was.
I think it's named after.
Croc.
Yeah, it's a play. So there's a Melee player apparently named Rock Croc, and like I guess he became famous for like. Was he a Falcon main, I assume? Like, I don't know.
I think he was a Ganondorf player.
Yeah, I think rock crocking was like mostly associated.
Yeah, So the change that they made now is that when Ganon and Falcon are recovering and they up B a lot before, if they up B'd into you, right, and you guys were below the stage, once they up B you would like bounce off of the stage, and if you teched it, you could just hit Ganon again or Falcon and they would die. So they would be trying to recover, which is like for those two characters, that's one of their biggest exploits. If you're fighting them, you're really trying to like hit them off stage because their up B is really bad. And they would just try to up B into you and intercept you before you hit them. And then now, if they hit you with their up B, right, and then you get launched into the stage, you can't just tech it and then hit them again because they can act immediately after doing the up B now. So that's one of like the buffs where he'll up B you and then he'll immediately like jump and do a nair and you'll like try to hit him and you'll get hit for trying to hit him again. So it buffed Falcon and Ganon's recovery. Dude, I saw someone like talk about this where they were like, can you guys please stop buffing Captain Falcon? Like, what is going on with this character, bro?
Yeah, I think he's been buffed in like almost every single patch or something like that.
Dude, a lot of them. Yeah, a lot of them. And like one of the buffs they gave him was like his up smash, which is ridiculously strong, by the way. It's like really strong for how fast it is. It has like no cooldown and it scoops you up. So, dude, that move is really messed up. Like, Falcon is fast, bro. And like he'll just run up and then like up smash. And if he missed, you're not punishing that. Like that, you have to just hold that. You have to respect that move. I've also just seen him like hurtbox shift, like you swung at him and then he up smashed, and like because the animation of the move is him like pulling back, your move missed, and then you get scooped into his up smash and die at like 80%. Like that move is really good, man. Like what is going on with Falcon, bro? Are they just trying to make him relevant because he's like the meme of Smash? You know what I mean?
So
be.
I have an analogy I'll use for you. So Captain Falcon is like let's say Captain Falcon's a reality show contestant. All right, and Captain Falcon does really well on like the first time he ever shows up on his reality show. And every they like him so much, like the production likes him so much that they want to keep trying to bring him back. You know, reality shows do that where they have like all-star seasons and like find any way to like bring people that like their fan base likes like back to relevance. I feel like Captain Falcon is like that like washed up reality show contestant and, like doesn't know when to say quit. but the people, the staff in charge like him so much, you're gonna keep trying to shoehorn this dude into your life whether you like it or not.
Yeah. I think it's just that he's a really popular character. Like obviously he's almost like the face of Smash Brothers because like he's like built from the ground up for Smash. Like his game, he's never outside of the race car. You don't play as him outside of the F-Zero car in F-Zero. And so like he's like just a purely Smash Brothers character. Like who doesn't know Falcon Punch, you know? So it's like I don't know, maybe he is really cool. Obviously everybody loves Captain Falcon. It's like maybe he was really bad. Like when the game came out, he was not that good. And like they're just consistently making him better and better and better. And it goes with what we said earlier, where I don't know, he's a very popular character. And I think they just want every character has their fan base, and they don't want anyone feeling like, damn, my character literally cannot enter tournaments. And like Falcon was one of those where you would get hit once and you were dead against a lot of characters.
Yeah.
So the other thing about the patch is they also nerfed Zero Suit Samus, Palutena, our sacred, blessed Lord Palutena, the closest thing that we have to a gatekeeper in this game, the anti-BS character that is Palutena. She thought she couldn't be touched again, and they touched her again, bro. She got nerfed, and so did Wario and Joker. So, okay, we can go through the nerfs like generally, but like, what do you guys think this means in terms of like, dude, they're buffing, like, in my opinion, they're buffing like a lot of the obscure characters and the characters that are not necessarily competitively viable, and they're nerfing all the characters that I thought are, all the really good characters. Like the characters I just mentioned, they got nerfed. They're all considered top 5, all of them, and they're really, really good. But they're also good in a way that usually is like it rewards the better player. Like there are not a lot of bad Joker players out there who are making huge upsets in tournaments. So what do you guys think? First of all, what do you guys think these nerfs were too big for these characters or any one of these in particular? And second, like, was this a bad patch? Like, what do you guys think about that?
Well, Palutena buffs, nerfs rather, were kind of like there was a lot of them, right? There was the grab range, dash attack, the fair. The fair nerf was basically nothing. That move is still unpunishable, basically.
Yeah.
Which
is crazy because it goes to show how insanely broken it was before the nerf. Like it's still unpunishable. Yeah.
The dash attack and the grab range nerfs are pretty big, but they're still not enough to keep Palutena from being one of the best characters in the game. Wario can still combo you into the WAF. Don't try to think that he doesn't. He definitely can still do that. And then Joker, the nerfs were kind of rough on him. They kind of the side B, the AHA, it has like more lag now, so his like defensive capabilities are a lot lower, but they're still really good. With the gun and like his small frame and speed, like he's gonna be able to move in and out of hits and be able to camp you and stuff like that. And he still has like Arsene being really strong. The counter got nerfed, which is honestly a long time coming. It was one of the most broken moves in the game.
Wait, wasn't that in the last patch, or there was another nerf in this one?
It was. So what they did was they made it so it has more end lag. So before you could like miss it and then continue to do it over and over again, like rapid fire. And now you get to like you would press it and you could rapid fire it, But now it's like there's lag to it. So you have to like hold on a bit before you do the next one.
Right.
But
So
it's still like a
if
super powerful counter.
right, so if you're fighting Joker and you predict correctly and wait a second and he does the counter and he misses, like you don't hit him, now there's way bigger opportunity to punish him really hard.
Yeah, like if you're playing Jokers, like they would counter, and then like if they didn't get punished, most of them would just counter again because it's like it's so safe. You know, it was like
Yeah.
really risky to try and punish his end leg on counter.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a long time coming. That was one of the most broken moves in the game.
Yeah. So what do you think about the patch in general? Like seeing what characters got improved and then seeing what they did with these top 5 characters, like what does this say to you? You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, I was just gonna say this. Like, isn't that kind of like that's the weird merry-go-round of fighting games? Is that like every now and then there's gonna be like patches like this where like because it's been a whole lot of nothingness for like the last like however many patches, I can't really remember, but it's been a whole lot of just like small bug fixes, like badly translated Japanese patch notes and stuff like that, and it's just been a whole lot of like nothingness for like the last few months, and I think a lot of what a lot of reception I've seen online is that people are pretty satisfied with this, with the patch. There's still there's characters I feel like that they could be buffing and they're not, but like a lot of the top tiers that people complain about, not all of them, but a lot of them, being like Wario and Palutena and Joker, like got for in some cases slaps on the wrist, or in Joker's case it hurts them a bit, and I think that's what people are really looking for, is that they want things to feel to feel fresh and stuff like that. But that's just, at least the way that I'm looking at it.
Yeah, I feel you. For me, so my impression is that obviously like Palutena to me was like I really did not want them to nerf this character again, even though it seems like it's slight and she's definitely still really good. Like that's one of those characters that, again, going back to what we said earlier, to me, she was the closest thing to like the gatekeeper, where if your character was gimmicky or like relied on a lot of like annoying stuff, like zoners that just throw stuff at you and they're not even trying to interact with you, she was really, really good versus all of them. And to be fair, she's still really good versus all those characters, but she's a lot less so because in this patch, they made her grab range a lot shorter, but in one of the previous patches, they made her throw combos harder to do. So it's like now, before I was like kind of okay with the throw combos being harder because the grab was still pretty good and it was still easy to kind of grab people out of shield and stuff. But now you have both of those problems. And I'm like, I wish they would kind of I wish they would go back and make the throw combos better again, because the grab range being worse in combination with that, it might be a little too much of a nerf in my opinion.
Well, the combos are still there, and like the grab range is still big. It's just like it went from being like an insane grab range to a big grab range,
Yeah, and I think people are, to your point about Wario earlier, like all of these characters are still top 5 in my opinion. I don't think any of them are like significantly worse, even though Palutena definitely got hurt the most. I just think that they're a little bit worse than they were, but people are kind of overreacting. The only issue I have with this is that while they're doing this to Palutena, right, the gatekeeper, and like generally this character does not make upsets. Like me personally, I've only lost to 2 Palutena players in bracket, and they are both players who are way better than me at the game, and that was very clear. There are 2 other characters that, in my opinion, and I think most people would agree, are so cancer and are so like annoying to fight, and they make upsets all the time, is Game & Watch and Shulk. And these characters have not been nerfed one time since the game came out. And like, unlike Palutena or ZSS or Joker, the way that those characters are top tier or near top tier is like, in my opinion, is like a very cheesy like way. It's not that like they have the tools to reward the best player. They just have like insane tools that are like really annoying to deal with. Like Shulk being able to just like go into Smashman Auto and now he kills you with a throw at like under 100%. And then like if you touch his shield in the middle of Smashville, he can kill you with an uppy out of shield if he has Smashman Auto, but like at 75%. So it's like in my opinion, I'd be fine with Palutena and all these nerfs because, again, they're still really good characters. But for me, the bigger problem is they have not touched Pikachu once. They have not touched Game & Watch, and they have not touched Shulk. These three characters, to me, are way more unhealthy for competitive Smash than Zero Suit Samus, Wario, Joker, and Palutena.
Yeah, the other issue with Shulk that I feel like I don't know why it hasn't been addressed yet is the shield Monado.
Yeah.
Like he can activate his like Monado arts in the middle of like being hit. So if you hit him with like a multi-hit move or just like a combo like throw or whatever, or a combo move, like anything that sets up for a combo, he can switch into a shield Monado and basically just get out of it and then hits you for it, you know? So it's like he doesn't have this advantage state sometimes. Like
Yeah.
you could play around it. Like you could like do like a throw or like a move that's not gonna be able like you're gonna account for it. So it'll put him in a position where he can't hit you for it, even though it's worse than what you would normally do. And then he wastes that Monado art time, right? So he has to like gain that back, and then you
Yeah.
could actually combo him then. But still, it's the strengths of that are so powerful that like even the counterplay is not good enough, you know?
Yeah, I don't know. It's really hard to tell. I think it's at least in the era that we're in right now, it's so hard sometimes to get a judge on like who should be getting nerfed and who isn't, because like I feel like Mr. Game & Watch is like an obvious case, as that character is still really, really popular, like online and stuff like that. I don't see as many Shulks and stuff like that, like at least in from my experience from what I'm watching. But I agree. I don't know. I think there's a lot of like I've always questioned like a multitude of the decisions like the dev team makes to like what quantifies as a nerf and like what quantifies as, you know, a buff and stuff like that. So like I saw one tweet that said that Mr. Game & Watch like moved up the tier list like without even being like buffed or touched or anything because everybody else ahead of him got nerfed. So like
Yeah.
it's just like it's very odd decisions. And like Nintendo's always made very strange choices of like what quantifies as like, you know, like you know what they consider to be like broken or overpowered and stuff like that in the dev team side of things. Like for whatever for every one thing that they do right, there's just like, there's always like a couple of like head scratchers where I'm just like, what? Like
Yeah.
why did they
Yeah,
do that?
like a perfect example is like, so I play Cloud, right? And Cloud is really good out of shield. Like if you touch his block with a move, I can punish it most of the time. You know, like he has one of the best out of shield options in the game. Like Shulk, so if Shulk hits my block, right, and I up B him out of shield, Cloud's up B has 2 hitboxes on the way up and then has another hitbox on the way down, right? And if you just like, because Shulk can switch to a different Monado in hit stun, it means that when he hits my block, I up B him to punish him for doing something bad. So he either misspaced a move or he hit my shield at the wrong time, and now I get to punish him, right? Or so you think, because then I up B him, and then when I hit him with the first hit on the way up, and then he switches to shield Monado while he's being hit, and so my second swing on the way down, he basically absorbs the hit because now he's in shield Monado, and he gets to punish me with a forward smash. Like, not just any move. He gets to do like an insane punish. He gets rewarded for hitting my shield, bro. For him messing up the spacing or doing something wrong or something that any other character would get punished for. And there's no counterplay for Cloud on that. Like, the only counterplay is for me to just do up B and not do the second one, and then he still hits the ground first and gets a big punish, or I just don't punish him and never do up B out of shield. Like, I can't nair it, I can't up smash it, I can't do anything else to that character. So it's decisions like that where I'm like, either the nerf for that is coming and they're just trying to make sure they get it right and they're not trying to like nerf it too soon and nerf it too hard. Maybe the nerf is coming and they're just not sure what the best nerf is. But it also makes me think, dude, do these guys understand like that this is not good for competitive play when you reward someone for doing the wrong thing with something that's so easy? You know what I mean? Like it takes things away from the game when there's no counterplay to it. You know, like there's nothing Cloud can do different in that scenario. You just not up B him, you know?
Yeah, a lot of characters have that problem against Shulk, and it's It's like if he gets rewarded for basically doing bad plays, you know?
Yeah, like what normally would be very bad to do competitively, it's like, oh, this character gets to get away with that. And then you're like, okay, but you normally I'd be okay with that. Like, so there are some characters that even though Cloud is really good at a shield, there are a lot of characters where I still can't punish what they do on my block in some circumstances. But the difference is that I can make up for that somewhere else. Whereas against Shulk, there's not really a lot of moments where I get to make up for that. Like, he kind of is faster than me most of the time, and his hitboxes are bigger than mine most of the time. He has a regular grab. I don't. Like, his recovery is better than mine. Like, it kind of just feels like they just buffed him because he was so bad in Smash 4. And it's like they didn't think about, like, they buffed him in a vacuum where they didn't realize like how this was going to be in practice. You know what I mean?
And it also doesn't even feel intentional because a lot of the times that happens, he's falling out like multi-hit moves, right? And this whole game has been about fixing multi-hit moves so nobody falls out of them. I mean, it still happens, but this is by far the most consistent game when it comes to that. You know, the multi-hit moves actually connecting. So,
do you know how many like patch notes I read where like there's like some rapid hitting move that like they have to fix because falling out of it? And like it's characters that I legitimately forget have like multi hits. I'm just like, oh yeah, that's a thing.
Yeah.
But also, I think the clear answer here is that clearly whoever Sakurai is playing on his lunch break isn't exploiting these broken habits enough with these other characters.
I want him to show me which one is the crappy Shulk main in your team, bro. Like, show me this guy right now.
Yeah, who's the intern in finance that doesn't know how to that doesn't know how to play Mr. Game and Watch?
Which one of you is the really booty, just trash tier Shulk main that made Sakurai think it's okay to buff this character to this degree, bro? This character feels so unfair. Like, when he wins, no one goes like, oh, yeah, good play. Like, I've never seen that. I've never seen someone shake hands and mean it and go, GG's, bro. Like, when you killed me at 40 with that Smash Minato, like, that was amazing. Like, I've never seen that.
We've seen what Shulk does in action. Remember what happened to Riz?
Oh, my God. This is the Riz hate episode, and I'm all for it, bro. Guys peddling Smash Sakurai Bill Gates conspiracy theories. And then now we're making fun of you for losing a Shulk.
I argue it's very on brand for this relationship. So,
yeah. Thank you for producing the show, by the way, Briz. You know that we're just kidding, right?
Show goes dark.
Yeah.
This is the last Glentendo podcast.
All of a sudden, I can't afford my microphone.
Yeah, it goes straight Sopranos, and it just cuts to black, and we don't know what happens.
Yeah. So the last thing I want to talk about is that, so there's this meme, right? And it's been a meme since Smash 4 before the DLC, which is just unbelievable, right? People saw the reveals for the Smash 4 roster, and the meme began with like the Fire Emblem characters and being like, oh my God, there's so many Fire Emblem characters. And then it started to feel like they showed like Shulk and they showed the Fire Emblem characters, and like they were like, the meme became, oh, this game, Smash Brothers, is becoming like the anime sword fighter like characters. Like they're always adding all these anime sword fighters to the game, and that's been a meme forever. And then when the DLC happens and you get, you know, Roy and Corrin, and like now in Ultimate we have even more. And then of course, you know, Byleth came out. We already kind of talked about this on the previous episode, but it's like Byleth came out and everyone was like, oh my God, like I cannot believe that. Like, this was like our worst case scenario. Like the meme was that it was going to be a Fire Emblem character and how stupid that would be. And Byleth comes out and everyone's like, oh my God, another sword character. And Sakurai, in one of his columns, he mentions how he's like, yeah, you know, I hear you guys, like, even I think there's too many sword fighters in Smash Brothers, right? So fast forward to now, we get Sephiroth. Technically, Min Min is like not a sword fighter, but like, she is a quote distance demon, you know, like the way that Byleth was called. And then we get these characters, right, from Xenoblade Chronicles. So the meme is like 2 or 3 times like doubled up on. It was like, oh, we thought it was over with Byleth, and then it was like double down. You get Sephiroth, and then you get this. So Sakurai was on a YouTube show called Washa Live, and it's basically just a show where people talk about video games, and he was a guest. It's really popular in Japan, and the reason I brought this up is because he kind of addresses like a little bit of that with this interview where the show host Nakamura, he asks, "Is there anything you want to announce?" So Sakurai's just on the show, and they're talking about general game stuff. But then before he goes, like, "Hey, is there anything you want to announce while you're here?" And he's like, "No, nothing in particular. But on the other hand, there is something." And Nakamura says, "What would that be?" And he says, "I want to say that tomorrow or the day after that will be my special video on Pyra and Mythra." And then the other show host goes, "Oh, the one where, you show the in-depth look, and that's exactly what I wanted to know." And Nakamura says, it's those sword fighters again that have you, Sakurai, racking your brain, right? And they all laugh. Like, he brings up the sword fighter meme as a joke. And Sakurai responds with sword fighters, ... question mark. Hey, it is what it is. And everyone bursts out into laughter. And so Sakurai then says, like it or not, it's not up to me whether another sword fighter goes into the game. And people forget this a lot because obviously it's easy to make the mistake. Like, he's the one who presents the characters and all that stuff. And he's very much like the face of Smash Brothers. So people would take to Twitter and they're just immediately like, Sakurai is responsible for the character that just came out. And he's reminding you guys that he said this before the DLC came out, before any DLC came out. He said the DLC characters are fully chosen by Nintendo, not him. So then Nakamura says, you're right, but even the players talk about it, like, why another sword fighter? And Sakurai says, well, even if it's another sword fighter, it will be fine as long as we balance them properly. And Nakamura says, you're right about that. And then Sakurai responds, and in contrast, sword fighters are easy to implement. And he says, what do you mean? And Sakurai says, compare that to Steve. He's like, dude, just look at Steve and tell me that doesn't look like it was way harder for us to do. Like, we literally had to patch every stage in the game to put Steve into Smash Brothers. Like, that's how unconventional his moveset is. And sword fighters, they're all pretty much straightforward. Like, the hitboxes usually do exactly what they look like, and you don't have to make any interesting animations to like match the hitbox, and like it's very straightforward. And so the other host says, is it really okay for you to talk about stuff like this? And Sakurai says, not really. And then they all start laughing. And Nakamura says, you're right, especially here. And Sakurai says, I'm sure if I go a little further, I will get something from Nintendo. And Kajita, the other host, says, how about signing some kind of contract with us? That should help. Nakamura says, as if such a thing exists. Anyhow, thank you for joining. And Sakurai says, my pleasure. And he signs off. So this was just really funny because, again, like going back to what we said earlier, where the presents give us a very intimate look into like Sakurai's home and like just like his personality and stuff. And he's very like open, unlike a lot of other game developers, especially, people from Nintendo. This was so cool that he did this interview and that he's so like rebellious in a way. Like, it really feels like he shouldn't be saying any of this stuff. Like, over the years, he's talked about like Smash is like a noose around my neck. Like, I just have to keep making these games and they take so much out of me. And like, then cut to this where he's like, yeah, I can't really say much more because, Nintendo will probably send me a letter. And like, it basically, I've never seen, this is almost like when Kojima had a problem with Konami, except they could say whatever they want and they're still cool. Like Sakurai is basically kind of being like, dude, if you're complaining about sword characters, you could blame Nintendo. Don't blame me. But we're still cool. Like, Nintendo's great, but he gets to speak freely, bro. Like, I love his style with this, man. It's so cool.
Yeah, it's funny that Sakurai says like that stuff. Like, it would be very like it would be very fitting for Nintendo to send their own Nintendo ninjas on like one of their like key directors and stuff like that. So I find that instance funny.
Well, he's not part of Nintendo, to clarify.
That's yes,
right.
Thank you. But like, it's Sakurai says stuff like like Smash is a noose around my neck, and like he does those like those Jim Halpert like peers into the camera during the directs and stuff like that. Yeah. But like in that same breath, he's always like, oh yeah, I keep the unreleased characters locked in my desk, like figurines of them locked in my desk. So
yeah, that was another, for people that don't know, that was another like little cool detail in the presents where he towards the end, he's like, by the way, like, we have these figures of Mythra and Pyra that I buy, and I always buy all the figures for the characters that are in Smash. And then he shows you like a picture of a bunch of like the characters and the figures he owns to like model the characters after. And then he like drops this detail like, oh, of course, the characters that have not been revealed yet are locked in a drawer. Like I will never. It's to that point where even people who walk into his house can't by mistake find these things. Like he covered his bases that hard.
Yeah, I mean, he has to, man. Like those things getting out, especially from him, would be a disaster.
Yeah.
Who's gonna be the man on the inside that breaks into Sakurai's desk?
His wife.
Yeah, but what do you think, Hungry, about like just his demeanor? Like, I just love how like he's so transparent. It feels like.
Yeah, kind of also kind of reminds me of a special person that's banned from the show. Dare I say his name?
No, please, bro. I don't want to have to edit it.
Okay, so if you don't know who this is, go watch some of the older episodes.
On patreon.com/Glentendo, we have like a lore little like blurb that's pinned at the top. So if you're interested in that, just check out the deep lore of the show. It's all there. But sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so he definitely talks freely too. Like people, when Bayonetta 2 was coming out, right? He was like, people were like, "Oh, will it be coming to Xbox and PlayStation?" He's like, "How would I know that? Oh, ask Nintendo." While you're at it, ask for Mario and Zelda too. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it's funny because I think I saw that they did an interview once with him, Sakurai, and I think there were a bunch of guys that I'm not as familiar with, but they've made very popular big games, and I think Hideo Kojima and Sakurai basically was like, we're all from the same generation, like they're all about the same age, and they're all from the same generation of gaming.
They're friends.
Yeah, so he's buddies with all those guys, which is just so cool. But this is as rebellious as a Nintendo kind of developer can be. Like, he's not officially part of Nintendo. He left many years ago before even Smash Brothers Brawl. But he's basically worked exclusively with Nintendo since. He just doesn't want to be part of, like, as he put it, he doesn't want to be part of a studio where they have power over him to make him, like, constantly grind out sequels. And he kind of gets to do whatever he wants and still work with the company in this form, which is kind of just awesome. He gets to go on these shows and do whatever he wants and say whatever he wants and like literally say like, I'm going to leave it at that because Nintendo might have a problem with anything I'm going to say. Like, it's just very uncharacteristic for a Nintendo developer. Like Miyamoto would never say something like that. You know what I mean? Like, he's basically Mr. Nintendo. You know what I mean? So it's cool that Sakurai draws that, like, he's clearly kind of an outsider, but he's on the inside as well, which is really cool.
I definitely agree with that.
It's fun when Sakurai gets to like loosen his tie a bit and like say funny stuff like this. I'm a fan.
So before we go, one last thing I want to talk about or ask about. Hungry, you famously said one time that Mario as a character in competitive Smash, that he's only 1 or 2 DLC characters away from not being viable. That was many characters ago. And now that we've gotten Min, Sephiroth, and Pyra and Mythra, where are we on Mario? Because personally, dude, you already know how I feel about Mario. I want this character dead, all right? I want his family gone. I want to pee on his grave. I can't stand fighting Mario. I've hated fighting Mario in tournaments since day one. To me, he's literally the scrubbiest character in the game. I want him gone, man. Like, please tell me what your projection is based off of the current state. Like, are Mythra and Pyra gonna be the vaccine for the Mario pandemic that I'm in?
I think they're really good against that character, but I don't know if it's enough. I did say that, but I don't know if I still agree with that, just because it's so hard to react to things, and his kind of thing is trying to get in on you, and it's kind of hard to stop him from getting in on you when you can't react to him getting in on you, you know? So, I don't know.
I can't believe...
The biggest proponent against Mario's viability right now is the input lag, so...
Yeah. I mean, where do you think, I thought maybe Sephiroth would also be really good against Mario. I've been hearing that Sephiroth is good versus Mario. So, I don't know. I mean, dude, I'm hoping. Fingers crossed.
We'll see. We got 2 more, right?
I
It's
want to
definitely-
see. I want to see a tier list where Mario's like somewhere in the middle at best. You know what I mean? I want him gone.
I don't know if he'll be that low, but I do think he's moving down a bit.
Yeah. Kyle, do you have any insights on how the DLC vaccine is working on this pandemic of low tiers and scrubby characters that we have in Ultimate?
Honestly, man, like I think the jury, for the most part, is still out. Like on at least like Pyra and Mythra for the most part, but like Hungry said at like the top of the podcast, these last 4 characters have been like pretty solid. Like I don't, I think we're kind of showing signs of that like DLC dominance with like how insane these characters could be. So I don't know, the lower Mario is on any tier list, the happier I get to sleep at night. So I'm game with it. So
yeah, we need that.
Give Sonic a gun. That's all. I'll say.
We need that 2-dose vaccine. Pyra is the first dose, and Mythra is the second dose, bro.
I can't play Mythra, so I can't play Pyra for like 2 weeks.
I need this. Yeah, you need to wait a little while and let that full. Mario's he's only received the first dose of that vaccine. Just give those players a little more time, bro. I need him gone, bro. Can't stand him. But anyway, that's this week's show, everybody. Thank you guys for joining us. Koopa is the host of the Cooped Up podcast. You can find that on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, a million other places. Check him out on Twitter at KoopaNJ. Is that the right Twitter?
You are correct, sir.
Yes. Okay. So yeah, check him out there. Koopa, just say goodbye to everybody who loves you so much and who didn't like you before, but now that they heard you on my show, they're like, damn, I love that guy. Say goodbye.
So I'm just saying bye to Hungry.
Yes.
Check out my podcast. I got another episode dropping this Saturday. You guys can look forward to that.
Awesome. And Arhungry, Mr. PGR win on stream on YouTube himself. He is the creator of the YouTube channel at youtube.com/Arhungry. And he has great videos on in-depth analysis on video games called Design Thoughts. Check out his channel. And your Twitter is at MF_Arhungry, correct?
Yes.
Awesome. So Hungry, say goodbye to all the people who are tired of your voice and just want you to leave and are done with you. Just say goodbye to them. Give them what they want.
I'll show you the life of the mind. I'll show you the life of the mind.
All right, guys. Thank you for joining me. We'll see you guys next week. The Glentendo podcast is over. All right, we're done. Goodbye. See you later. Thank you, guys. See you next week. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. You can follow me on Twitter at SuperGlentendo. The Glentendo Podcast is a weekly Nintendo/Smash community podcast. Our aim is to have galaxy brain conversations on all things Nintendo. If you like the show, please consider becoming a friendo and supporting on patreon.com/Glentendo. Friendos get early access to the show each Thursday. The show then becomes free to all the following Sunday on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts right now and you actually like the show, please give us a good review. It helps boost our visibility so more people can find the show. This show is brought to you by our amazing producers, Naomi Eduardo, In a Yellow Flash, and the legendary Riz.